Hi everyone, this is Emily Mercado, owner of Loves to Travel the World Travel Agency. One of the questions that I get asked the most, particularly by clients who book travel to Italy, is how they can get easily to Pompeii and Herculaneum from Naples. Pompeii and Herculaneum are two of the most famous archaeological sites in Italy. So I figured that I would post a video about ways that you can get to and from these fascinating sites the easiest. So as a little bit of an introduction, for many of my clients in particular, a visit to Pompeii and Herculaneum is a bucket list item. Maybe about 10 or so years ago, I had the privilege of going to Italy, and I spent some time in Pompeii. It was actually quite fascinating to see how this village was preserved under so much ash from the explosion and eruption of Mount Vesuvius. So it was actually a very interesting experience for me. Naples, in Italian Napoli, is the central hub to both places, both Pompeii and Herculaneum. We did not stay in Naples, but we passed kind of on the outskirts of Naples as we went to Pompeii. If you are going to be making Naples your base, this video will help you to kind of figure out how to get to both sites. As I had said earlier, Pompeii and Herculaneum are two of the most famous archaeological sites not only in Italy but the entire world. And both sites were buried by the explosion and eruption of nearby Mount Vesuvius, in Italian Vesuvio, in AD 79. It's interesting to note, however, that Mount Vesuvius has erupted many times before and since AD 79, but it just so happened that this particular eruption was recorded by ancient Romans. So as you can see, there are four blue arrows. This first arrow up here is where Naples is. It's right on the Bay of Naples. The next arrow here is Herculaneum here. And as you can see, this big area of green right here is Mount Vesuvius. And a little bit further to the south is Pompeii, the Pompeii ruins. So as you can see, Herculaneum is a little bit closer to Naples, and Pompeii is a little bit farther to the south. But both are very easy to get to from Naples. I'm going to start with Pompeii, which is the further of the two sites. It's approximately 26 kilometers or 18 miles south of Naples. It's relatively easy to get to, just as Herculaneum is. It's of the two sites, Pompeii is the most famous and actually the larger of the two sites. The peak season in Pompeii begins in April and ends in October, and it's usually jam-packed with tourists. The visiting hours from April 1st through October 31st is Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. From November 1st through March 31st, the opening hours are daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's important to note in this case that the first Sunday of the month, from November through March, admission is free. And speaking of admission, to gain entry into the Pompeii ruins, tickets are run at 15 euros each. But it's important to note that there could be some discounts or coupon codes depending on what specials they're running and depending on the time of the year. As for Herculaneum, as I said, it's the closer of the two sites to Naples. It's only 11 kilometers, or 6.8 miles south of Naples, right on the Mediterranean coast. Herculaneum is still pretty impressive, but it is less popular than Pompeii, and it's not quite as touristy as Pompeii is. Peak season runs about the same time as Pompeii, but there are still many people that visit, even though it's not quite as busy or popular as Pompeii is. It is a little bit smaller. The site Herculaneum is a little bit smaller than Pompeii and therefore requires less time to visit. But it's still definitely worth it to take your time and to really explore and dig a little bit deeper into what this particular site has to offer. You can visit both sites on the same day if you take the train from Naples. However, my best advice would be to visit Pompeii and Herculaneum on two separate days, just because Pompeii is a little bit larger, and you do want to be able to spend, as long as you're there, you want to really be able to spend a time looking at both sites. If you are going to visit both sites on the same day, stop in Pompeii first because it is the farther of the two sites, and then Herculaneum on the way back. For Herculaneum, the opening hours is pretty much the same, April 1st to October 31st, from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. every day. And then November 1st through March 31st, every day, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And just like in Pompeii, the first Sunday of every month, admission is free. Tickets are €13, which you can purchase in advance, unlike Pompeii, where you have to purchase them on site. So now that we've covered a little bit of background information, the trick is to get to Pompeii and Herculaneum from Naples. Your first option would be to take a guided tour. Honestly, it's the safest and the most convenient for you. Most tour operators organize day trips from Naples to both Pompeii and Herculaneum. Almost every tour can begin from whichever hotel you're staying at, or even the cruise terminal if you are on a cruise making a stop into Naples. Most, if not all, cruise lines do offer visits to the sites as an excursion. And if you're going to take a tour, you have three choices. You can either take a private tour, a semi-private tour, or a group tour. If you go the private tour route, it is the most expensive, but also the most flexible, in the sense that you can customize your trip any way you choose. Group tours, if you're on a budget, group tours are the least expensive option, but you can't customize a group tour, unfortunately. And, a couple of the pros, and I would like to cover the pros and cons of taking a group tour. I'm going to start with the pros. It's much, much, much more simple to organize, and one tour operator takes care of everything, from purchasing the tickets to arranging transportation to guiding you to specific must-see points within each site, and so much more. And it's very convenient. You can choose to be picked up at the cruise terminal if you are cruising, or from your hotel if you're staying in a hotel in Naples. And finally, included within the price of the tour is a tour guide is included. A professional guide, as I said before, will show you the sites and explain the history of what you are seeing. And they'll also guide you to the must-see points of interest in both sites. Cons, if you are going to choose a group tour, you will be on a bus with many other people, unless you are choosing the private tour option. Sometimes, if you're going like on a semi-private or a group tour, sometimes there are stops that might include unwanted stops at factories or souvenir stores. That could be a disadvantage if you're not really interested in picking up trinkets or little souvenirs like that, if you only want to see the sights. And unless you go with a private tour, as I said before, group tours really are not customizable at all. You see, you stop where they stop, and you really don't get any say in how the day is planned. So option 2 is to take the train. I personally like taking trains because I don't have to deal with traffic. I don't have to deal with parking. I don't have to deal with, fighting with other drivers. But, taking the train, I think, is a pretty good option if you don't have a car or if you're just looking to get to and from the sites with ease. As I said, it is a pretty easy way to get to and from the sites from Naples, but it does require a little pre-planning and a little bit of thinking. Fortunately, both Herculaneum and Pompeii are both very well connected by train to Naples. But a word of caution, if you aren't used to traveling by train in Europe, or if you don't speak Italian, it can be a little bit intimidating. If you're lucky, you will be able to find, a group of people who live in and around Naples, who speak English or whatever language you speak, and they can help you a little bit. The connection in Naples is the Garibaldi station, and the archaeological city of Pompeii is called, like the way that you get there, it's called the Circumvesuviana. The top 10 things to know before taking the train. The trains for Pompeii and Herculaneum are on the same line, Napoli, Pompeii, Sorrento. Sorrento, I believe, is the final destination of that particular line. The trains generally depart from either the Napoli Centrale or the Napoli Nolana station. I happened to take the train from the Napoli Centrale station, and I found it was much easier to navigate. Every day, the trains depart about every 20 to 25 minutes, beginning at 6 a.m. and ending at 9 p.m. every day, weekends included. There are multiple stops. If you're looking to stop in Herculaneum, in Italian, it's Ercolano Scavi. Scavi is the Italian word for ruins. And if you're looking to stop in Pompeii, the stop is Pompeii Scavi Villa dei Misteri. The EXP stands for Express. The express trains usually don't have that many stops between Naples and the archaeological sites, so you're not going to spend, if you happen to take the EXP or express trains, you're going to get there quicker because you're not making stops at every single station. If you go to this website, this website will give you the most current timetables for when the trains are running. If you need to pause this video to write down that website, please by all means do, because this website, these timetables are key in order to be able to get to and from where you need to go on time. A one-way ticket to Pompeii Scavi costs 2.8 euros. And to Herculaneum is 2.2 euros as of 2019. The prices may have gone up a little bit, so it's always best, again, to check the website above just to make sure that the price hasn't changed. If you're going by train from Napoli Centrale, from the Napoli Centrale train station, it takes approximately 20 minutes to get to Herculaneum and approximately 35 minutes to get to Pompeii. That's assuming that you take the regular train, not the express train. When you arrive in Pompeii at the Pompeii Scavi Villa dei Misteri, the site entrance is across the street. When you get off the Herculaneum site, when you get off at the Herculaneum stop, to see Herculaneum, it's about a 500 meter or 550 yard walk to the entrance. It's very, very convenient, very close. Something to keep in mind, and if you live in a major city such as Boston, New York City, Washington D.C., or even places out in California, you know that the commuter during the rush hour, the trains can be quite full. So it would be to your benefit to go either just before or just after rush hour if you don't want to be packed in like sardines. And again, the pros and cons of taking the train. I'm going to start with the pros. It's not expensive at all. It's actually less than €5 even. It's very convenient. The trains depart every 20 minutes, and the stations are very close to their respective train stops. If you take the train, you do avoid the heavy traffic that is southern Italy. so if you're not looking to fight any kind of traffic, taking the train is your best bet. And taking the train is 100% customizable in the sense that you are in charge and you can decide what to do and when to do it. You are in charge fully of your time, of your arrivals and departures. The first kind of con, and this really isn't even a con, if you like planning and research, then this is definitely your thing. But because taking the train does require a bit of planning and research, it takes a significant amount of time, and you won't get the travel guide as you will if you decide to take a tour. If you decide to take the train and forego the tour group operator, you are responsible for purchasing your tickets to the site on your own. With a tour, all of your tickets would be included. Another con is that the train might get delayed for mechanical reasons or strikes or whatever the case may be. So that would be a chance that you would take. But taking the train in Italy, and this area in particular, is believe me, it's quite an experience. And it is worth it to know that the Circumvesuviana train is often very crowded, particularly in rush hour, and you will most surely find yourself standing if you choose to go during the rush hour times. And like I said before, if there's a strike, then the train service might be affected. So bonus tips for those of you who are visiting by cruise. You do need a taxi to get to the Napoli Centrale station from the cruise ship terminal. It is an approximately 5-minute taxi ride from the terminal to the train station. But if you're up for the walking, it's about 2.5 kilometers. If you are visiting from a cruise, I would very, 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 very strongly recommend taking a taxi, especially when you're coming back, so that you don't miss your boat. Be sure to check the all aboard time for your cruise and plan accordingly. If your all aboard time is, for example, 3 o'clock, you don't want to be leaving the trains you don't want to be leaving your site at 2:30. So you just want to pay extra close attention to that all aboard time to make sure that you are on your way to the boat in plenty of time to make it. And like I said, if you are taking the train, most definitely leave enough time for possible train delays. So the third option that you have would be to take a taxi from Naples to Pompeii and or Herculaneum. It can be very convenient to have your own driver, and you would pay your driver for the day. but it can be a little bit expensive. If you're on a budget, this might not be the best option for you. But if you're in a group of, say, 4 or 6 or even 8, splitting the cost among your group can make it very affordable. You would hire the driver for a few hours or for the day, and they're most likely a local person, living locally in the Naples area, and they would be able to recommend other places for you to visit other than just Naples, Naples and Herculaneum and Pompeii. He or she can take you to the sites, they can wait for you, and they can bring you back to your hotel or the ship if you're coming in on a cruise ship. A couple of other considerations that you might want to take under advisement. If you know people that have visited before and that have used taxis, they can refer a driver to you, and you can make arrangements directly with that particular driver. If you don't have a referral, my strong suggestion would be to only ask taxi drivers that are operating a legitimate business with a clearly visible taxi license, because there are people that will try to take advantage of you, especially if you don't speak the language or if you've never visited the area before. Do not use random people that are offering you services by your hotel or at the port. Again, only use taxi drivers that have a clearly visible, valid taxi license. Again, my strong suggestion would be to agree on the price before stepping in the car. If you do arrive by cruise ship, there will be many taxis just outside the port. Shop around, because if you get in the taxi without agreeing to the price before, then they can and will get away with charging you exorbitantly, because, well, they can. And then in advance of getting into the vehicle, ask how many people will fit in the car, because if you agree to the taxi driver services, and if you have a large group, if they don't fit, well, then you're stuck, unfortunately. And again, agreeing to the price in advance is particularly important if you are a large group, because it will avoid problems later on down the road. No pun intended. Once you depart, your driver will try to upsell you to other sites, such as Mount Vesuvius, the Amalfi Coast, a great local restaurant, either because they want to make more money to drive you, or because they know the owners of a particular restaurant and they'll get a kickback. If you do this, if you choose to avail yourself of these extra stops, ask for the extra cost in advance of agreeing to visiting these other places. If not, then, well, you're stuck. So, as always, the pros and cons of taking a taxi. The pros, one of the pros is the ride from Naples to Pompeii and or Herculaneum will be very comfortable. You'll get things like air conditioning, your own vehicle, you don't have to worry about driving, and you're going to have a driver for the duration of the day. It is a very highly customizable option, in the sense that you can tell the driver how long you want to spend in each place. If you only want to spend an hour or 2 or even longer, they'll be able to wait for you and bring you back to where you need to go. And you can get dropped off just outside the sites, just outside the front gates, the ticket booths, and it will be a way that you can save a little bit of walking. One of the pretty major cons, especially if you're on a budget, is taking a taxi can be more expensive than taking the train, especially if you are alone or in a small group of, say, 2 or 3 people, where you don't really have that many people to share the cost with. And you will have to buy your ticket for for both Pompeii and or Herculaneum. It's not included in the taxi price. And driving, as I had alluded to before, traffic can be quite heavy, especially getting in and out of Naples. And you might get stuck in some traffic, which could be particularly troublesome, especially if you need to get back, if you're cruising, if you need to get back to the ship at a certain time. And, of course, the fourth option is driving yourself. It's only for the very brave. Trust me, I know. I would not recommend driving in Italy because, and this is kind of putting it mildly, Italian drivers can be a little bit crazy. And that's putting it nicely. So it's only for the very brave and definitely not for the faint of heart. Even most Italians do not feel comfortable driving in and around Naples. Especially to places like Pompeii and or Herculaneum. If you do decide to rent a car, if you're feeling particularly brave, if you do decide to rent a car, my very, 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 very strong recommendation would be to purchase every possible insurance the car rental company offers, just so that you are not, just in case something happens, that you are not responsible for whatever may happen, whatever may or may not happen. Again, be very, very careful when you drive, because Italian drivers are not known for their driving skills. And parking by Pompeii and or Herculaneum, especially in the peak travel season, can be a real challenge. Because parking tends to be a bit limited. I strongly suggest you pick another option other than driving. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that if you have the opportunity to pick another option, such as taking a group tour or a private tour, or taking a taxi or the train, I would suggest that you avail yourself of those options first. Before driving yourself. Thank you for watching. That is kind of my overview of getting to and from Herculaneum and Pompeii from Naples. It's one of the questions that I get asked most often. As your travel agent, I can definitely help you book travel in and around Italy. And having been there before and having experienced at least Pompeii, I can definitely give you some really good suggestions of places to go and things that you should see, especially on the Amalfi Coast. I've listed my email, my website, my Facebook, Instagram, and Yelp accounts, and also my YouTube channel. If you need or want to contact me. All of my other contact information can be found on my website, and I look forward to working with you, especially in the future, when you book your trip to Italy. Thanks again for watching, and if you have any comments or additional lingering questions, please post a comment in the comment section below. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day, everyone.